How many times have you sat up at night alone, overthinking and contemplating every aspect of your life? I'm quite sure that we've all been down that road at some point. Every individual that walks the face of this earth has a unique life story. We all go through bouts of trauma and joy, good days and bad days, trials and tribulations, or sunshine and rainbows. Sometimes life can be hectic. Life can be overwhelming in positive and negative ways. Sometimes we turn to others to get our thoughts and emotions off our minds and hearts. But then there are moments where we feel entirely too vulnerable to express these feelings to anyone else. Those thoughts begin to fester, and our minds begin to race. The silence soon becomes too loud to bear. Are we then supposed to succumb to whatever our brains make up? Do we just put on a happy face while we're slowly dying inside? Our mental health begins to deplete. But taking a pen and paper, or due to modern technology, opening our notes and typing away can really become therapeutic. And before you know it, you've written something uniquely beautiful and truly poetic. I've taken the time to sit with a few poets to talk to them about their journey.
Dear girls across the world. Dear girls across the world, I just want you to know that you are beautiful. From the day you were born and started with that little bow headband or beret or bolito, you are beautiful. From the moment you started walking and entering the terrible 2 stages, wearing mommy's shoes and daddy's oversized t-shirts, you are beautiful. From the moment you started preschool and attended elementary school, you began to grow and learn about the outside world, the different races and peculiar faces, learned lessons from playground scars, and going different ways across the monkey bars. You are beautiful. From the awkward stage of losing your teeth and having your gums show in school pictures, that 8x10 your elders would hang in their living room china cabinet, so long the dust bunnies have made a home and is now your 10-year challenge. You are beautiful. From your middle school years, where your body is becoming something you don't want to, the other girls have more than me. Why can't I have what they have? You are beautiful too. This is that crucial turning point, the point where girls need extra love and attention from their parents, and positive role models encouraging them they are fine just the way they are. Some have it, and that's a beautiful thing. But to my girls who don't have it, I'm here to tell you it's okay. You don't have to rush your body to compete with others because you are still beautiful. Middle school turns into high school, and from that moment, boys are around. They are growing too. They begin to take interest in girls, but none are into you. From that moment, you begin to listen to what those girls are interested in, from fashion to music to reality TV, hell, to the oldest chick that got lost in the way. You don't need it because you're beautiful. From that moment, you begin to copy all that they do, and you think you've grown now. Your body begins to grow, but you want more. More body and attention. You begin to add to your body, putting the V into voluptuous. You become a hot commodity. Prostitution is your new occupation. Your family disagrees with this, but you don't care because you're now the shit. However, you don't feel beautiful though. From that moment, you realize guys only want one thing. The other girls only discuss money, sex, and fashion. Meanwhile, books, music, and architect are your passion. But no one knows because they see your perfectly sculptured, beautiful body. Nothing else matters. You don't feel beautiful. You go into depression and cry every night, wondering how the hell you will win this fight. Suddenly, your mind begins to feel different. You begin to have a different perspective on life. From that moment on, you want to take the V out of voluptuous and the N back in natural. You get surgery, but it takes a toll on your body. You're not the same and go back to your regular self. You feel beautiful again. But there were complications during the surgery and now your body has issues. You are still beautiful. Except you don't see it and now pills are your coping mechanism. From that moment and on one particular night, you gave up the fight and overdosed on sight. Even though all you've been through, I wish I was there to tell you every day, you are still beautiful. The end.
Scared of men I am. When I was young, I found myself surrounded by security. Every day I felt safe, happy, and the center of my family's attention. I was never afraid, constantly attempting to impress the people around me. I'm not to brag though, that's never something I would do to the end. 5. I found myself in school, making friends, securing a place in my class. The next year, I found myself feeling the same, yet things were a blur, I could say. But nonetheless, I felt secure with my group of friends, we were pure. I'm not to brag though, that's never something I would do to the end. When security falls and the blanket over you is pulled off, the first taste of cold is sharp like a knife. 10. My friend moved and I felt betrayed, but I knew he wasn't to blame. Alone I was, now afraid. I'm not to brag though, that's never something I would do to the end. Now recognizing my feelings for men, I regretted my confession from then. 15. Wishing I could hide, and all would forget. I'm not to brag though, that's never something I would do to the end. Continuing by myself, I felt the weight that held me down, but afraid to confess, I was again. Not a word was spoken, none was said. 20. I'm not to brag though, that's never something I would do to the end. Now I look in the reflection of all those who watch, of all those who wander. I hear the insults, the dissonant harmony of shame. I'm not to brag though, that's never something I would do to the end. 25. Perhaps the insults were just my imagination. Perhaps they were the one I kept repeating to myself. Regret and shame had crusted on my skin, but no one could see what I hold under. I'm not to brag though, that's never something I would do to the end. 30.
Mama, will you still love me when I'm no longer young and straight? Oh mama, would that love for me just turn into hate? Mama, it's the females, not the males that I want to marry. Mama, I want you to have grandkids. I just don't want to carry. Mama, will you still consider my child your grandchild? Or would you push me away and be in denial? Mama, would you come to my same-sex marriage? Would you help me pick out that suit? Forget traditional marriage. I want my suit to be purple or even blue. Don't try to condemn my worth and tell me that is not what a girl should do. That I was brought into this world to love and marry a man. That there's no way I can love and marry a woman. That there's no way that our love is real. That if it was in Africa, I'll be banned and possibly killed. You say me being gay left a wound in your heart that'll never heal. Mama, did you ever sit back and think about how that made me feel? When you believed I was straight, you loved me. You considered me your prized possession, but now that you know the truth, everything you thought about me is put into question, Mama. It's ridiculous. It's crazy, Mama. You won't even accept me, and society already hates me. Homophobia is an epidemic that's on the rise, and the rate of people coming out is dropping like flies, and the courage we had before slowly dies. Forget societal norms. Why do you care so much about what they think? Why can't I be out and proud without you quoting the Bible, telling me it's Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve, telling me that being gay is a sin, but that's just what you believe. Lady, look at me. I'm never going to be that straight girl you want me to be, but Mama, I'll be myself like you taught me to be, and I'll love my daughter a whole lot differently. Let her know that I love her no matter who she decides to be. I'll let her pick out that purple suit. I come to her same-sex marriage. I won't condemn her in any way. Let her do what she wants to do because, Mama, it does not matter if my daughter is no longer young and straight. A mother should never let the love for her daughter turn into hate. Thank you. I first started writing poetry when I was about 14.
I started writing when I was in middle school with a heartbreak.
I started writing poetry, I think around middle school.
I would say I really started writing poetry. I started writing at 11, but it started off as like rap, and then eventually it formed into poetry.
And then I stopped writing, and then I started again after my biggest heartbreak after my daughter's father. And then I wrote more like as a blog, and I just kept it personal. I always wrote, and then I was introduced to spoken word in like cafes in Harlem, and I was like, I'm gonna write and I'm perform. And so I really started getting serious in 2017. And that's when I really started writing poetry and then taking off from there.
But towards like the end of high school, I became a little bit more interested in it, and I just stopped like around the beginning of college.
So when it's an emotion that's triggered, so if I'm angry, if I'm happy or in love, I'll write.
Whenever I'm not clouded by my own inner demons, I guess, like a lot of the time I tend to let my mind wander off into a lot of dark, deep spaces.
I think I create my best work when I'm around other creative people because it gives me the push to like do better.
I am learning to now try to write in the voices of other people, feeling based off of their emotion, if they're angry and stuff. And usually where I have to be, when I first started in like 2017, I had to be in a quiet space, like play music, have my candles lit, very, homey feel. And now I can kind of write a poem in the car. If I'm angered or triggered, it just comes out really quickly.
That I honestly don't like a lot. And it's very difficult to pull myself out of there. But whenever I am able to be efficient and sit down and do my work, I find that that's the easiest for me to actually express myself and say what I really want to say instead of whatever is in the back of my mind.
So if I see, I draw inspiration in a lot of things. Like I draw inspiration through people, through art, through music, like literally. So when I'm around people who are creative, whether it's like they're dancing, they're doing like creative arts, or just poetry, I'm like, wow, all right, I could do this. Like I could put my toes into this. I could change this up. So that's literally, I draw my most creation. I find myself the most creative when I'm around other people who are just as creative or even more creative than me, or people who are like very talented, like super talented that it doesn't even make sense. It's like, wow, all right, I could draw something for that. And I draw from a lot of like experiences, like good and bad. And I find myself like when I'm just sitting down, it just comes to me. If I sit down, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna write this. Nothing is gonna come out. But I could be like in the train, in the middle of class, oh, this is fire. So that's really how it would be. Like, it just comes to me. When it comes to me, I gotta accept it. Either write it down or it's gone forever. So that's how I get it.
Around middle school, like my father had to go to jail, and I kind of was growing up in a time where I guess around my area, homosexuality wasn't like being accepted. And I tried coming out in middle school, and I was bullied left and right, and I ended up not having friends for a few years, and I felt like the only way for me to actually communicate with anybody was to communicate with myself, and poetry was one of my ways of doing that, aside from writing and trying to draw.
I've had numerous traumatic experiences in my life, but I'll say like one experience was with me and my mom. We often butt heads because I came out at a very young age, so we butt heads a lot. So, and she tends to say a lot of things that I don't feel comfortable sharing with other people because I feel like they're gonna look at my mom like she's crazy. So most of the time, all I have is this pen and paper. So like, whenever me and my mom get into it, like she'll say some heinous things, and literally all I can do is write about it. That's one. And then when I lost my grandmother, like I literally did not know what to do. I didn't know who to speak to. I didn't feel comfortable like going to my parents. So literally all I had was the pen and the paper. And I wrote so many poems dedicated to my grandma. Like even I name drop her in like a lot of my poems because I just feel like part of me just feels incomplete without her. So all the time, like something bad happens, it could be so small, like it's gonna turn into a poem eventually. It's gonna turn into a metaphor or a rhyme scheme. So yeah.
When I had my biggest heartbreak, I think that's when I started writing the most. Kind of put me into like a small depression. And I wrote everything that came to mind, every feeling, if I was sad or if I was angry. And then I stopped. And then I think what triggered me in 2017, I think I just had like the motivation from my friends and family, like you can write, like start writing, you can do this. And so that's when I started again.
I think the art of poetry in and of itself calls for it. I think when you write poetry, you're just writing whatever comes to mind. And I think the first thought that does happen to come into your mind is always the thought that corresponds the most with your subconscious. I think that, like, it's your truest, purest form. And I think that when you overthink, you lose that. But with poetry, you just write whatever is in your head and you just let it ramble on until you find it to be finished and you have nothing else to say, which is the best closing for poetry.
I think poetry, I think where people stumble the most is that people think that when you're writing poems, you have to rhyme. One of my favorite types of poetry is free verse, where I can just write whatever comes to mind. I think one of the things I do as a creative writing teacher is to teach them to just write what comes to you, to your mind. What's going on? What's bothering you? And then we can transform that and make it look into a poem and make it flow. And so I think once they channel certain emotions, if you write down your emotions first, like what are you feeling? And then start writing what's going on in your mind. Why are you feeling like this? What happened? And little do you know, once you've written all that, you've created your poem and you didn't even know it. So I try to teach them, like, just write first. Don't think it as a poem. Just write how you're feeling, and then you can, transform it. And I think that's the way to bring poetry to life from raw emotions.
I think the way poetry can help people channel their inner raw emotions, I feel like is because most people don't, when you're speaking to someone, you're not really gonna tell them everything off the bat. Or when you tell them, it's always gonna be a little watered down. It's not gonna be the full raw truth, well, not for everybody. So with poetry, it's it forces you to express yourself, because the more you express yourself, the more you personally move, the deeper you get, the more relatable you are to other people. So whether you're a poet, not a poet, just writing a poem, just to write a poem, if you're writing in your truest, deepest form of self, you're gonna feel like the poem is more meaningful. So when you're writing on the paper, it's I can write whatever I want, and I don't have to share it with the world, but it's out, it's out. So you don't have to personally talk to someone one-on-one. You don't have to personally go on stage and perform for thousands of people, but you writing it down, you getting it out, and reading it three months later, wow, this is where I came from. I was really down, and I got to say everything. I could write whatever I want and rip the paper up and throw it away. Nobody's ever going to see it, but I know it. Because when you just leave thoughts in your head, I also know that that's a killer. Not feeling like you just can't say nothing to nobody. And after a while, all the thoughts in your head, they start to come out in your actions. So you start to do things that you don't normally do. You start to shut down in moments you normally wouldn't. So with poetry or writing in general, just getting it out actually helps. Whether you share it or not, whether you rip it up and burn it after, just the act of getting it out is the best.
All right, so this poem is called Profile. Excuse me. Hi. I couldn't help but notice. I saw you take 3 steps away from me, so I'd like to ask you why. Does my melanin offend you? Does my evenly butter pecan skin tone glistening and glow from the summer heat the color you wish you seek? Or the evenly spread out freckles I have on my face that shines bright like a diamond? I'm no carrot top, but they are beautiful and unique. Is it my semi-curvy thick body a desire you wish to acquire? I'm so sorry. I didn't ask for this. I was built this way. See, I get it from my mama, and my grandmama, and my great-grandmama. Could it be my 4C texture hair that can shift and shape into any hairstyle I want? One day a puff, the next a twist out, straight hair next, or done by the Africans on 2/5? Does my shea and cocoa butter scent with a splash of product perfume make you envious of me? Or is it the way I properly ask, hi, how are you? Can I have a grande white chocolate mocha latte hot with whipped cream, please? I pay attention to details. So with that being said, I also saw you snicker and cut your eyes once I said my short yet unprofessional urban ghetto name, Moet. Yes, my name is Moet, and don't think for a second I'm at all ghetto. I mean, I can be if I need to be, but don't push me and we'll be alright, okay? You see, You don't understand that I've received this entire performance before, so it really amuses me. I love for people, especially on interviews or meetings, or like right now to hear my name first, give that look of disgust, and then I speak so eloquently and politely. My goodness, you would have think they've seen a ghost. As they listen to me speak further in detail, they'll hear my English literature degree with a double minor in middle and high school education and business management sexy self. I'm sorry, not sorry, you expected different. I'm sorry, not sorry, you're uneducated. I'm sorry, not sorry, you wish you were cool with me. They'll see the confidence in my strut, the diligence in my studies, the black love from my partner, the flavor in my cooking, the swag in my looks, the generous love and support from my friends, the compassion in my teaching, the history from my ancestry, the crazy, funny, yet humble mindset from my family. I'm filled with positivity. It's that black girl magic in me, you see? Thank you.
Fanta, iteto, mugo sa ibe kasila, mugo shima fushikila adabla sisan. I'm sorry. I apologize for upsetting you, but when you yelled, I went right back to that place that I vowed to never ever go again. Took me to that place where my mama's voice became an old so familiar ricochet, and I feel small, boxed in, closed up, trying so hard not to fall, to fail. Birthed by Africans turned American citizens, my whole life has been a Hail Mary. With these two cultural identities I carry, mama and papa show their love through necessities. And sometimes that really gets the best of me. You're so lucky to have both your parents in your life. Oh, really? So why am I searching for paternal love so desperately? Battling demons on my own, because we African, we don't believe in therapy. And I swear I wish we were more open to it, because I needed one before I needed one, and I wish I didn't need one before I started seeing one, because it's things like mental health in an African household that's rarely ever talked about. If you're depressed, they call you lazy and assume that's going to sort it out. And if you're sad and start crying, they respond with, I'll give you something to actually cry about. As if tears are only required when you get beat, but they don't notice the days when you're low and the only sound you hear is your heartbeat. You've been strong for too long, you're thinking about defeat, wondering if I was gone. Would they finally miss me? Appreciate me for who I am and not who they want me to be? Loving the child right in front of you instead of comparing to other families? The lack of compassion left me looking for love in all the wrong places, looking for mother figures in my teachers and father figures in my coaches, drowning in my own tears, but y'all have yet to notice. Truth be told, this left me lost for a while, trying to understand the Americans as a young African child, and it was hard. Some days I was embarrassed to say I was African out loud because I was tired of the same jokes that got laughed from the crowd. No one talks about the identity crisis children of immigrant parents go through. The days you're all alone and you just need someone to hold you. Because we're not perfect. And at the end of the day, we're all human. We go through pain, but we hide our scars because our parents can't see us hurting. They tell us heinous things and never once do they apologize. I swear, even when he lost his mother, I ain't never seen my father cry. To this day, I still replay the time my mother told me to end it all. Wallahi, ni California nebe muso femini faga opini yere faga. I know she didn't mean it. But there's not a second that goes by that I wish that I was dreaming, constantly in denial because I don't want to believe it. But she told me this when I was 12 and again when I was 19, and someday I want to show her, be careful what you ask for because you just might receive it. And I think about this pain and I don't know if it'll ever feel the same. People walk out of my life and I let them leave, not sure if y'all are the ones to blame. Some days I still feel like that little girl who's waiting for the rainbow after the rain. Waiting for mommy and daddy to show me love in a different way. For them to focus less on their actions and more on what they say. Cause sticks and stones never broke these bones, but y'all words, they hurt forever. And I'm hoping one day as a family, we can heal together. Thank you.